All right. So good evening, everyone. It's good to see you on this fine, wonderful night and on this last moment inspiration to do a class. Now, some of you have been asking me every single week for the last bunch of weeks, when is the class? When is Wednesday night class? Well, we're finally back here. And hopefully I'll get the word out more before next class. Each class is going to be its own unit. So you don't need to worry if you miss one class, you can come to the next one. Obviously, if you're here, that's not a problem. But if you tell someone else about the class, first of all, they can watch each class on Zoom, on YouTube or Spotify, wherever else can upload it. And second of all, you can, each class is self-contained. So with that being said, I made a little calculation today, which is part of why I chose to do the class, is that from today until Rosh Hashanah, there are 5 Wednesdays. Okay, there are 5 Wednesdays, including today. There are only 5 Wednesdays from now until Rosh Hashanah, which means I have 5 Wednesdays to teach you about the holidays. And in fact, once the holidays start, there are really no Wednesdays, because this year Rosh Hashanah is on a Wednesday. Yom Kippur starts Wednesday night. The second day of Sukkot is on a Wednesday, and Simchat Torah is on a Wednesday. So that knocks out classes for a whole month. So I said, if I want to teach you about the high holidays, I got to do it now. So these are special days. These days, they give us strength, energy, and inspiration for the rest of the year. They're filled with joy and meaning and depth. And many of us have celebrated these holidays many times before. They're very familiar. But if we're honest, they can also feel very repetitive. You know, so you might find yourself connecting more to one holiday than the other. So you may find Yom Kippur every year is exciting to you, but maybe Rosh Hashanah is not as much. Maybe Rosh Hashanah, not Sukkot. Maybe Sukkot, not Simchat Torah. So that's my first goal. My first goal is you should connect to all of the holidays in the holiday season, which is Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchat Torah. But second of all, is I want that these holidays, with all of their actions, the details. In other words, we may connect with the holiday in general. Do I connect with some of the details of the holiday? Do I appreciate? You know, is it just because I've done it every single year, I'm doing it again? What is it about the holiday that I love? And so that's what we want to get to. We want to, every single time we celebrate the holiday, we blow the shofar, we dance with the Torah, we sit in the sukkah. I want that you should feel connected to it. So though I call it a master class, the master class does not mean that you're going to turn into an expert in the holidays, because that's not the goal of Judaism ever. The goal of Judaism is to grow. And my hope in this series is that you grow and you walk away with at least one new insight, one new perspective, one new connection to all of these holidays, something that makes them feel more alive to you, and something that makes you feel their energy more and that you appreciate it more. And this approach is very much in line with our Tanya classes, that if we want to connect more deeply with Judaism, the path is through study. And that is how we grow. So we need to study about it, and that's my hope and prayer. Tonight's class, though, is actually not about a holiday. Tonight's class is actually about an entire month. Some of you may know, some of you may not know, but there is a month that is coming up right now. Anybody knows what the name of that month is? There's a Jewish month, and I don't mean September. There's a Jewish month that's coming up. What is that month? Anybody knows? What's the name of the upcoming Jewish month? No? It was in the class description.
I should know that. Not Elul, right?
Elul, very good. The month of Elul.
I got it. Yay.
Okay, good. So if the other classes, I'm going to be teaching you about things you know, this class is probably going to be the most new information. It's going to be a class about something you don't know that much about. So let me give you a little structure of how we're going to do all of the classes, and we'll start with it right here. My classes are not going to be in-depth Jewish law and giving you the details of how to practice, okay? I've done those classes before, and maybe I'll do them separately. But this class, I'll go through a little bit of the laws and the rituals, so you have the basic outline. And then from there, we're going to focus on the bigger picture. We're going to focus on the meaning behind those laws. So in other words, laws have a lot of minutia. We're not going to get into the minutia. We might get to the general details, right? But we'll only bring minutia as it pertains to an idea that we want to bring out to you. So tonight we're going to first going to start off this class explaining to you the month of Elul. Once you appreciate, understand, and know about the month of Elul, then we can talk about its meaning. So the question to you is, what do you know about the month of Elul? And anything that we do in this month, what do you know that in Judaism that is done in the month of Elul, or anything that you know about the month of Elul, any history that you know about it? Anybody? I mentioned it as the class was getting started. No? Nobody. Okay. So if nobody knows about the month of Elul, then I have to start from the beginning, right? All right. Custom number 1 of Elul starts with the shofar, right? And as the class goes, we can say shofar, show good, right? So far so good for the class, but in the month of Elul, we blow the shofar. It's the one time a year the rabbi really toots his own horn, right? It's the one time a year the rabbi really toots his own horn. But one of the customs during this month is we blow the shofar. Every single morning or any time of day during the month of Elul, we blow the shofar. Not as long as we blow it on Rosh Hashanah, but we do blow the shofar, okay? That is custom number 1 of the month of Elul. All right, custom number 2 of the month of Elul. Many people have a custom. That's a Laffy Taffy. I might get a good joke. We have Laffy Taffies tonight. So if the jokes are really bad, now you'll know what they are. It's fine. There's another one in the box over there. So another custom month of Elul is something called Silichot. Does anybody know what the Silichot are? Feel free to jump in. What are Silichot? No? Very quiet night here. You can post on the chat. You can... Silichot. Silichot. Nobody jumped in. Okay. Silichot are extra prayers that are said during this month. If you're a Sephardic Jew, you say it for the entire month. And so they say an extra 45-minute prayer every single day. They say the Slichot, 45-minute extra prayer every single day. Slichot means supplication, prayers, extra prayers to God. If you're Ashkenaz, like me, then you're in luck. And this year it's about 10 days of prayers. Some years it's as little as 3 days of extra prayers. I'm not going to get into the minutia because that's not the point of my class. So Silichot is another custom of this month. Some people do it a whole month. Some people do it towards the end of the month. Extra prayers. Then custom number 3. There is a prayer called Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my shepherd. It is a custom that we say this psalm twice a day during this year, because the Lord is my light refers to Rosh Hashanah, and he is my salvation refers to Yom Kippur, as well as in Psalm 27, it says he will shelter me in his sukkah, so that's the Sukkot. And so we say the psalm starting from the month of Elul, which, by the way, starts on, I believe, Monday. So we start this from the month of Elul, and we complete it in the last day of Sukkot. All right, so we have 3 customs so far. Shofar, Silichot, extra prayers, Psalm 27. Another custom is we start to say K'tiva v'chatima tova. We wish everyone, may you be signed, may you be written and sealed for good. It's a blessing we start to wish people already in this month. All right, number... what are we up to? Because I'm doing this out of order. Number 4 or 5, I don't remember. Okay. Another custom is from the Baal Shem Tov. According to the Baal Shem Tov, we say every single day 3 extra psalms. He has an order. You say 3 extra psalms every single day. Another custom in this month is people check their tefillin and mezuzot. Make sure they're kosher. And a final custom of this month is many people do what's called a cheshbon nefesh. They take an accounting of their soul and to make sure that they are living the best life connected to God that they can. So with our checklist of Elul, whether it's blowing the shofar, the extra prayers, of the Slichot, or Psalm 27, or the 3 Psalms, or checking our mezuzot and tefillin, or whether it's wishing people a happy new year. Clearly, there's a lot of rituals and customs to the month of Elul. The question is, why? Why are there all these extra customs and rituals to the month of Elul? Any thoughts? Anybody has any thoughts? Why are there all these extra customs and rituals to the month of Elul?
To me, it's like the warm-up prayers we do before chakra.
Very good. I was hoping someone would say that. It's like the warm-up prayers. It's kind of like a warm-up for Passover, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is what we would tend to think. We would tend to think that the month of Elul, there's nothing intrinsically holier about it, but it's a good time to warm up. You know, before you sing a song, you got to do warm-ups. You know, before you run a marathon, you got to exercise. So before you come to the high holidays, you got to warm up. You start saying extra prayers so you can get ready to sit in the synagogue for all these extra days. Let's give an example. Passover, for example. Before Passover, we need to spend time. We need to clean our homes, right? Before Passover, we need to get rid of all the leavened bread. We need to order the matzah. But here's the thing about the difference before Passover and the month of Elul. Let's just imagine you are very wealthy and you can go to a Passover hotel for Passover. You can literally do zero preparation for Passover, okay? You can literally, the day before Passover, okay, besides for spending a lot of money, okay? The day before Passover, you lock up your house, you give the rabbi the bill of sale, right? The rabbi sells it over Passover, right? You go to the hotel, all the food is there prepared. So if you do that, you literally do not have to prepare for Passover. So what I'm trying to get to is, though the days before Passover are days of preparation, technically, if I'm all prepared, right, then there's nothing really intrinsically special about the days before Passover. Just technically, I need to get ready, so it takes a lot of time. So here's the question. Is Elul the same way? Is Elul not intrinsically holy? It's just practically we need to get ready for the high holidays? So what if I'm a good boy the whole year? Is there anything special about this time of year? Is there anything unique? Is there a special energy this time of year? And so this is what we're going to discover tonight. This month, and you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it. This month that we're coming up to is not just technically we're getting ready for the holiday season. There's actually something special in these days. There's actually a special spiritual energy that's only available during these days. In other words, what makes any holiday special? What makes Passover special? It's not just that we eat matzah. We eat matzah because it's a special day. Because there's a special spiritual energy of Exodus, therefore we eat matzah. What makes Sukkot special is an extra special energy of God embracing us. Therefore, we sit in a sukkah. So 1 second. So the same thing is the month of Elul. The practices we are doing is not just we need to get ready for an event of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. It's because it is a special moment. There is a special divine spiritual energy that is available in that month. And in order to tap into it, we do all these rituals. And so that's what we're going to discover tonight. What exactly are those rituals that we're going to do in order to tap in? Sorry, what exactly is this spiritual energy that we're trying to tap into? Yes, what's your question?
What you just said makes me understand now the teaching that God is in the field.
Well, we'll get to it. We'll explain that. That's tonight's class.
Just got it.
Well, yes, but tonight you're going to walk away with a deeper understanding than you've ever known before. Okay. So let us first go back to history. Okay. Always the place to start is history. So still now what I've basically said is there's a special month called Elul. It's starting on Monday. There's a lot of rituals associated with it. And what I'm presenting to you is it's not only technically we're preparing because maybe we were bad boy, we were not good the whole year, but there's something special. There's a special spiritual energy in there. So let's go back historically. Historically, what is the first event on the Jewish calendar that happened during this month of Elul, where we see that it was a special time? What was the first event where we see it was a special time? By the way, talking about months. Which month?
פרשת השבוע?
Huh?
פרשת השבוע related or not related?
Whatever you want to say. By the way, which month can never make up its mind? Maybe. Okay, all right. Since we're talking about months, okay, all right. It's just bad jokes to lighten up the mood. But so anything in Jewish history that you know is connected with the month of Elul specifically?
We enter Israel, no? From the Arab Bracha?
Okay, so I'll give you a hint. It happened in the desert.
Oh, זה לוחות הברית?
Close. Yeah. All right, let's take a look. We're going to look at the text here. If you're here, you have it in your thing. I'm going to show you on the screen. Here it is. All right. So everybody knows Moses went up on the mountain. He went up to the mountain for how many days? 40 days. Now, how many times did he go up the mountain?
Twice.
3 times. So here you have on the map, he first went up on the 6th of Sivan, which is Shavuot. Okay. And he came down on the 17th of Tammuz. Maybe he went up on the 7th of Sivan. That might be a mistake. He came down on the 17th of Tammuz. That's 40 days. And he came down, okay, so 40 days after the giving of the Torah, he came down with the first tablets. But what happened when he got down? What were the Jews doing? Right? Why? What was happening when he got to the bottom? They were doing the golden calf, so he broke it, right? Okay. So after he comes down and he sees the golden calf and he stops it, what does he do after that? He goes back up to ask God not to destroy the Jewish people, right? So he has to head back up the mountain. So on the 17th of Tammuz, the day of the golden calf is a fast day. Familiar with that? So that's another cool thing, connection over here. All right, he heads up on the 18th of Tammuz, and he comes down on the 29th of Av. He goes again for 40 days to pray for God not to destroy the Jewish people, for forgiveness. Then, on Rosh Chodesh Elul, he goes up a third time to the mountain for 40 days, and this time he comes down on what day? On Yom Kippur. And what does he bring with him? The second pair of tablets, which obviously shows that God has completely forgiven us, that he's given us the second pair of tablets, and that is, of course, why Yom Kippur is the day of forgiveness, already historically. The completion of the forgiveness is on the 40th day, Yom Kippur. But here we already see it was a long process. It starts in Elul, right? When did that final forgiveness start? It started in the month of Elul. So what I'm trying to tell you is already historically, this month is very much part and parcel of the high holiday season. It's not just technically before. Even in the original high holiday season, the month of Elul was a part of it in the 40 days of Moses going up the mountain. The first 30 days of that was the month of Elul. The last 10 days is obviously Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur. Okay.
Question.
Okay.
What happened to the golden calf? I don't think it was mentioned.
The golden calf was ground into pieces and poured down certain people's throats as a punishment. Yeah, it's discussed. All right, well, gotta read up again. So we now have a little bit of the history, right? We're trying to get to our answer. What is special about the month of Elul? We already see historically the month of Elul is special. Okay. Sorry, I turn my notes here. So now that you have the history of Elul, how it is part of the high holiday season, as part of that forgiveness, let us now look at the name Elul. Okay? So the names of the Jewish months all have very special meaning. Right? All, just like the name of the Torah portions, the name of the months all have special meaning. So the word Elul is comprised of 4 different Hebrew letters. Okay? Elul. In English, it's E-L-U-L. Okay? In Hebrew, it's also 4 letters. It's interesting. It's exactly 4 letters. Okay? Now, there's something called Rashi Tevot. Rashi Tevot means an acronym, right?
How is it in English?
Huh?
Acronym, how do you say?
Acronym. Rashi Tevot, an acronym, right? So, for example, one could say the word Elul means everyone's late, under late. I don't know, whatever. Just give me an example, right? That's a Rashi Tevot. Rashi Tevot means an acronym. So each letter of the name Elul in the Hebrew fits with a lot of different lines in our scripture. Okay, so if you look in the different commentaries on the month of Elul, there's a lot of different explanations. But today we're going to focus on one. This was first said by the Avudraham. If you don't know who he is, that's fine. He points out that the word Elul is the Rashi Tevot, is an acronym for a verse in Song of Songs. Now, what is the book Song of Songs? Who wrote the book Song of Songs? King Solomon. King Solomon wrote the book Song of Songs, and it reads like a love story, and we understand it's a love story between us and God. God and us and God. Okay, it talks about the beloved, two lovers. And clearly, by the way, if you read it, it's not talking about a human love, meaning not a couple, because in some place it says, I love you, my sister, my bride, for example. Obviously, your sister's not your bride, okay? It's all different ways of describing different levels of love, okay? So one of the verses there is Ani Lidodi Vidodi Li. So if you look in the Hebrew, you'll see that is Elul. Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed. Ani Lidodi Vidodi Li. Now, if you don't know Hebrew, that's fine. So what that means in English is an acronym for the verse, I am to my beloved, and my beloved is mine. Or my beloved is to me is actually the correct translation. So that's a wrong translation. It doesn't have the word to. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. Huh?
So this is uncle, my uncle, no?
It can be in modern Hebrew, but it also means my beloved, my good friend. Okay? That's how modern Hebrew came to Dod. Okay? So what does this mean? What does this I am to my beloved is to me? What does that mean? What does that phrase mean? So we're talking about a relationship here, right? Who is the beloved? Well, it depends who's talking, right? But in this case, it's the Jewish people talking. I am to my beloved means we, the Jewish people, give ourselves over to God. And my beloved is to me, meaning God gives himself over to us. Okay? God gives himself over to us. So what's the difference between these two? Ani Ladodi means I am to my beloved means I make the first move, right? When you have a relationship, sometimes you both are attracted to each other, you both love each other, but who's going to make the first move, right? That's the question. So this verse is telling us, in the month of Elul, who's making the first move is God. Sorry, not God. We are. Ani Ladodi, I am to my beloved. Then Vidodi Li, my beloved is to me. Okay? So the month of Elul, practically, we see it, right? It's a month of introspection, a month of note-taking, a month of repentance and return to God. It's a month of reaching upwards towards God. That's what Elul is. I am to my beloved. Then my beloved is to me really happens more on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, when we feel God's kingship, God's power. It's like the difference between, it's like God at Mount Sinai, right? God at Mount Sinai would be Dodi Li, my beloved is to me, meaning God coming to us. Why Mount Sinai? God came down the mountain, not we went up to him. God came down the mountain. There was a lot of symbolism in that. It meant that we weren't ready to go up to God. God was coming down to us. So in the month of Elul, we get close to God, and as a reward for that, in the month of Tishrei, God moves closer towards us. Okay? Yes.
There seems to be a contradiction
Okay.
to the Torah
Yeah.
in that statement, because God describes us in two ways. He said, we are his witnesses and his servants, which is totally the opposite of this statement.
There's no opposite because it just depends who's talking. So in this case,
God talking. Oh,
it just depends who's talking. In this case, we are telling God, I am to my beloved, and my beloved, meaning God, is to me. I am moving close to God, and God is moving close to me. That's what the verse means. It just depends who's talking. It's just what energy is available. What we get now is the month of Elul is what type of energy? It's the energy that has to start with us. Okay? Think of, for example, Egypt. In Egypt, we weren't deserving of redemption. In fact, we didn't even want the redemption, right? Moses came to the Jews, and the Jews said, stop bothering us, right? They said, you're making it worse. God God makes the first move. Even at the giving of the Torah, we weren't really worthy of it. Okay, we did a little bit, but for the most part, we weren't worthy of it. God came to us. All of the holidays are really celebrating God coming to us, when you think about it. Purim, okay, obviously we had to get close, but most of it is a powerful revelation. In this month, there's no powerful revelations, right? We don't see God. It's not like a holiday, right? There's no celebration of a powerful revelation, okay? It's us getting close to God. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. If this whole month is about us getting close to God, if the whole month is about I am to my beloved, me moving towards God, then what actually makes this month special? In other words, I can always make a move towards God. I can do it in the month of Av. I can do it in the month of Nisan. I can do it in December. I can do it in November. I can do it in October. How is this any different than the whole year? I should always be returning to God. I should always be repenting. I should always be doing teshuvah. I should always be getting closer to God. What makes this month different? In other words, if I would tell you there's a great revelation of God in this month, but I didn't say that. I said, no, I said this month is a month where we get close to God. So then what is actually special about this month? I could do it this month, but I could do it any month. What is unique and what is special about this month that gives it a special energy in which getting close to God is more possible in this month than any other month?
Because
How?
this was the big boo-boo that we made. We didn't make such a big decision to worship the golden calf any other month. This was a big deal.
The question is, what unique spiritual energy is available right now that makes repentance different now than any other time of year? In other words, I can repent and return to God any time of year.
Yeah.
What is unique about this time of year? If you tell me, oh, it's like Passover, right? Passover, we say there's an energy of Exodus. You can break out of all your limitations and boundaries. So the question is, what is available in the month of Elul? If Elul is all about Ani L'Dodi, me getting close to God, where does God fit in here? What is God doing different this time of year than any other part of year? That's the question. What is God doing different this time of year than any other time of year? Obviously, the answer is there is something, but how do we describe it? So I want to summarize what I said till now. We started off this class. I started off with the word Elul. Many people didn't even know what it is, right? Elul. Elul is the month before Tishrei. And I said Elul is not just a month of preparation. There are a lot of rituals associated with it because there's a special energy that's available there. Okay? I said, and I gave a lot of examples, blowing shofar, slichot, and Psalm 27. Then we said, but so what is that special energy? And I started with explaining the month of Elul is an acronym for I'm to my beloved is to me. But that brings up a question. If that means that Elul is just a month when I can get close to God, then what is unique? What's unique spiritual energy is available now that's not available other times of year? So the answer is like this. Of course, but most people miss the whole beauty of that explanation. Today you'll understand the whole beauty of why it was given. No, it's correct. He said it before too. But today you'll understand exactly why we use that parable. To answer this question, how is it on the one hand, it comes from us, but at the same time, there's a unique spiritual energy. So when someone's in a difficult place in their life, there are two different items of help they need. Number one, they need to be inspired that they can change. Number two, they actually need to be helped. I'll say that again. When someone's in a bad situation, they need two types of help. Number one, they need to be inspired that they can change. And number two, they need to actually be helped. I'll give you an example. There's a lot of self-help books out there, right? Some of them are like inspirational, right? They get you going, but then you have to actually how to actually do it, right? Then you have to buy a different book that tells you how to actually accomplish what you want to do, right? Let's say, so you get inspired to get into real estate, but now you need to read a book on how to do real estate, right? So let's say someone inspires you, the need to be healthy, right? Someone comes to explain to you, the doctor comes to you, right? He hits you over the head. He says, you're so unhealthy. You're going to die young. He's inspiring you, but he's not telling you how to be healthy. Then you got to go to your exercise coach. You got to go to someone else. You got to go to your nutritionist. That's not the doctor's job. The doctor's job is to inspire you. You can't spend all day coaching you how to be healthy. So that's really when someone's in a bad situation, this is the two things. We'll call it the inspiration, right? One is inspiration and one is giving you the ability. I can give another example. Let's say there's a druggie on the street, okay? There's a druggie on the street. He's homeless. I can go over to him and inspire him, right? I have that ability, but I don't have the means to actually help him right now, like get him on his feet. I'm not that well connected, right? Not me personally. Maybe I know people, right? But me personally, I don't have the tools and wherewithal to help him, right? Now, there might be an organization that has a storefront or a home or whatever where people can come in and they help them, right? they may not be going out to the street, but when someone comes to them, they're available to help. So again, when it comes to someone who's in a bad situation, there are two things that are needed. Person needs to be inspired, and then the person needs to have someone that can actually help them do what needs to be done. And that's exactly the same thing that is going to go on over here. We're going to make the argument that in the month of Elul, though there's no overt revelation of God, though God is not appearing in full splendor and glory to the point where we're like, oh, we're so inspired we got to change, at the same time, God is very much available to help us when we choose to change. Okay? And this is why one of the most famous parables written by the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, which today all Jews speak about it, this is what it comes to explain. The Alter Rebbe wrote in his book, Likutei Torah, he wrote this fascinating example, this fascinating parable of the month of Elul. I'm going to put it up here on the screen, and it reads like this. He writes like this. It is like a king who, before he enters the city, the people of the city go out to greet him in the field. There, everyone who so desires is permitted to meet him. He receives them all with a cheerful countenance, shows a smiling face to them all, and when he goes to the city, they follow him there. Later, however, after he enters his royal palace, none can enter into his presence except by appointment, and only special people and select individuals. So too, by analogy, the month of Elul is when we meet God in the field. So in other words, think about it like this. God in the month of Tishrei, in the high holidays, God is the king. Talk about God's kingship. Anybody go in the king's room? You need an appointment. You need to be someone special. You have to have a good reason to see the king. But when the king is in the field, anybody can see the king, right? The king is very much available. You don't need to be a special someone to see the king. But at the same time, the other fascinating thing about the king in the field is the king in the field is not overtly a king. He's dressed he's dressed for the field day, as they say, right? He's out there with a group. He doesn't have that aura that he may have in his kingdom, right? He doesn't have that same presence. You won't notice it. Obviously, he's still the king, and he still is the same person. And so says the Alter Rebbe, this is really what the month of Elul is about. The month of Elul is basically, God is not going to appear to us as a king. He's not going to inspire us with a powerful divine revelation, a moment of clarity. That's not going to happen in this month. It's not going to be suddenly you're going to be awakened, that jolt in life that tells you your whole life has been a mistake, right? That's not going to happen to you this month, okay? But what is going to happen is God is in the field. And the moment that we want to change, the moment we choose to take a step forward, God is right there and is immediately accessible and immediately responsive. You know, they tell a joke. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? One, but the light bulb has to want to change, right? That's what we're teaching you over here. This is what the month of Elul is. The month of Elul, what makes the month of Elul special is that the king is available. During the entire year, we might want to change. We might have those moments of desire to change, but there's so much holding us back. Our fears, our insecurities, our evil inclination, our inertia, our day-to-day life. You know what? How many people do I meet that tell me, Rabbi, I really want to come to shul. I really want to come to the Torah classes. I really want to study. I have lots of people tell me all types of things they say they want to do, but they don't do it. Why not? Because it's hard. You say you want to change, but what's going to actually make you change? Sometimes we have moments in life that force us to change, but that would not be the month of Elul, right? That would be God appearing in his glory. Usually, it's just maybe the rabbi's sermon inspired you, maybe the rabbi's class inspired you. It can happen, by the way, and believe me, it can happen. Rabbi's class can inspire you. It's possible. But so anyways, my point is, let's say during the year, right, there was a rabbi's class, the rabbi inspired you, you want to change. But the next day you find yourself being the same person. It's happened to all of us. It happens to me too. I've told myself a million times not to tell corny jokes. I still do. No, I'm kidding. Right? We all want to change, but we don't always change.
Habits are hard to.
What's so special and unique about this month What's so special and unique about this month is God is so available that even when you have just that desire to change, God is there to help you. I want to give a little story that kind of brings home this idea. Not entirely, but about the king in the field. Many years ago, Joshua Bell, who's one of the world's greatest violinists, he decided to run an experiment. Normally, he plays in big concert halls and people pay hundreds of dollars to hear him. One morning, he decided he's going to take his show to the DC Metro. He's going to sit there in the subway, in the train station. He put on a baseball cap and he put on a show with his multi-million-dollar violin. He put on a show for everyone to hear. What do you think happened?
No, $1 here.
Most people walked by, a dollar here, dollar there. A few people caught on to what was going on. But most people, they just rushed by. They kept going. They missed out. The same people the day before would pay $300 to hear it. They hear it in the subway, they tune it out.
People have $300 to hear
Right?
violins taking the metro.
So
But that's
this is what's available to us during this month. God is sitting there. He's there. He's playing the violin. He's in the subway station. He's where you're at. God appears to you and says, "Hey, I'm here." But you have to want to change. You have to want to become a different person. That's what the whole idea of the king in the field is coming to tell us. How on the one hand, there's no overt revelation of God, but at the same time, there is a special divine energy. What's that special divine energy? That when you want to change, this month will make it easier. I'll just, to explain it a little more scholarly, it says there's certain people that ain't maspikin biyadam la'asot tshuva. They're so bad, we don't let them do teshuvah. But it says if they really push, they can still do teshuvah. That's really what it means. The rest of the year, we have to push really, really hard. During this time of year, when we choose to change, we're going to feel God's presence, and that change will come much easier. Yes, what's your question?
We spend a lot of time in this service
Yeah.
singing Avinu Malkeinu, our Father.
Father, our King, yeah.
That just came to me that he's both our Father and he is the King. Our Father is our King, which makes us royalty. Does that happen only that time of year, or are we always royalty?
You'll have to stick around for the rest of the class.
Oh.
As you think I'm done, this is one of the tricks of rabbis. Just when you think you understood what I'm teaching you, I'm gonna change it up, right? So you should never think you know it all. That's the idea. That's the idea. Yeah, that's the point of this class. Yeah, that's the whole idea. So now I want to explain this in Kabbalistic terms. Okay. The Arizal writes that during this time of year, during the month of Elul, the 13 attributes of mercy are shining. Now, what are the 13 attributes of mercy? They're written we say them in the prayers every single day. We say them multiple times in the high holiday prayers, and in fact, in the Sephardic Slichot as well, right? You repeat them multiple times every single day in the month of Elul, right? Hashem kal racham v'chanan, God, compassionate and gracious. The 13 attributes of mercy were first revealed to Moses after the sin of the golden calf as a divine formula for teshuvah and mercy, okay? So they were revealed to Moses. So the Arizal says that the 13 attributes of mercy are shining already in this month. They're already present in the month of Elul. You don't have to wait till Yom Kippur, okay? So here's what's interesting. So in the month of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they're shining. But in the month of Elul, they are there if we choose to awaken ourselves, okay? So again, what I'm trying to say is there's 13 attributes of mercy. These 13 attributes of mercy are available to us during this time of year, but only if we choose to avail ourselves of their power. And I'm going to explain this a little bit deeper. And I'm going to explain it by looking again at the parable that we had up on the screen before. So there's something I skipped. Till now I just said the king is available, the king is there in the field. But there's a fascinating thing. He writes here, he receives them all with a cheerful countenance and shows them a smiling face to all. So this explains what exactly is the power of the month of Elul. What exactly happens when I choose to change? What does it mean God is showing his smile? He receives them all with a cheerful countenance. What is one thing you hear from Jews when, they want to change? What do they say about themselves, right? Jews, right? A lot of times I meet Jews and I say, you want to put on tefillin, you want to come to Shul more, you want to keep Shabbos, put up a mezuzah, whatever. The typical excuse, the most thing that people say is, but I'm a bad Jew, right? It's something a lot of people say. I'm not a good Jew. It's not for me, God wants the good Jews. He doesn't want me, me change. I'm a bad Jew. So I'm going to do one more little thing. What is that going to do anything, right? So I've been bad the whole year. I do so many sins. Well, I'm going to come the month of Elul, decide I'm going to change a little bit. So you know what God does? God is smiling in that field. He's smiling. That's what it says. He shows a cheerful countenance. That's the power that God is giving us. That when we say we want to change, we find a God that is smiling at us. Not a God that's screaming at us. You have problems and you have issues and you only wake up now to look at me. Where have you been a whole year, right? That's what happens if you wake up Rosh Hashanah, right? But in the month of Elul, God is there. He's in the field. It's like, the guy in the field, everybody come. The king is there. He's smiling. And so when we choose to change, you know what we're going to find? We're going to find a God that's smiling at us. We're going to find a God that says, I love you. You're my child. You're special. You're a special one. You're a prince. You're my son, my daughter, right? And that gives us so much power to choose to change. And this, by the way, is the meaning. That's what I was saying before, that in this time of year, the 13 attributes of mercy are shining. What does mercy mean? Mercy means you're going to be kind even to someone who doesn't deserve it. That's what the word mercy means, right? Kindness is not the same as mercy. Kindness can mean being kind to someone who deserves it, right? I can be kind to my child. I can be kind to my good friend. Kindness does not necessarily describe who you're being kind as an action. Mercy means there's a bad person. They don't deserve help, but I'm going to have mercy on them. This is what it means. In the month of Elul, there's a shine of God's 13 attributes of mercy. That means that when we choose and we say we want to change, we find a loving God, a God that has mercy on us, a God that says, welcome, my child. I miss you. I love you. I love you. I care about you. That's what makes Elul so special. The king is in the field and the king isn't waiting behind the palace gates for you to prove yourself to see that you can come in. Even just the desire to change alone makes the king so happy, makes the king smile, makes the king laugh. One small step for man, one giant step towards Hashem. Okay, no, okay. As Neil Armstrong once said, no, okay, I can make it up. Sounds good, right? And so I guess this is my practical idea. What is the practical idea of Elul? The practical idea of Elul is when we choose to seek God even a little bit, God will be there shining at us. We'll feel his love and embrace. We'll feel his closeness towards us because he's in the field, right? He's not the awesome king that's on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, right? That's the different energy. It's totally different energy. This time of year is that loving embrace that we can feel. Wouldn't you much rather return and repent to that loving embrace than to that awesome, it's a much better time to do it. And this, by the way, is expressed in a verse in the Torah. And let's take a look at it. This is in Deuteronomy. It says it here in Deuteronomy 4:29. And from there, meaning from far away from God, that's what it's referring to in context. From there, you're far away from God, but from there you will seek your God and you will find him if you search after him with all your heart and with all your soul. Meaning, you will find God even in the far off places. You don't have to get to the palace. God will be available for you even in those places. You will find him. That is what the month of Elul is all about. Okay? So let's take a step back for a moment. So what we're saying now is, well, let's summarize. We start off this class by asking, what is the month of Elul all about? On the one hand, it's full of customs. We blow the shofar, we say Tehillim, we say Slichot. We bless each other with a good new year. Sephardim are saying Slichot the whole month. But at the same time, it's not a holiday. There's no official mitzvot, right? No special rituals commanded by the Torah. The calendar just calls it Elul, another month. So what makes it so special? The answer is, Elul is a special month, but its power is not an external revelation. That is why there's no formal commandments. What does a commandment mean? Commandment means God is telling me something, right? The energy of Elul is just the opposite. The energy of Elul is when I choose to get close to God, God is available. The other holidays are all God giving to us. That's why all the other holidays and celebrations have a mitzvah connected with it. Shavuot celebrates the giving of the Torah, God giving us the Torah. Yom Kippur celebrates God giving us the second tablets. Rosh Hashanah, the creation of the world. Passover, Exodus, Sukkot, the clouds of glory. Every single holiday is God acting, God revealing himself to us. Elul is different. Elul, there's no external revelation. And yet it is deeply holy because at that time God is there. God is available to us. God is available to us in a very, very deep way when we choose to get close to him. That's what makes Elul special. And that's really the whole meaning of the king in the field. But now I want to say one more thing that will change everything I said till now. So what I said till now is, so to speak, God does not awaken us, right? I said there's a difference between inspiration and practical help, right? What I've been saying till now is God is practically there to help. How is he practically there to help? The moment you choose to change, he's smiling at you. Who doesn't want that, right? Huh? He's accepting you, yeah. And that's not so available during the rest of the year. Okay, so it's a special time. But then the Rebbe takes this further in the discourse and says, but to a sense, God is not only available, but God is actually inspiring us as well. How so? But in a different way. Okay, so let me just explain. Inspiration has two types of inspiration, and really there's two types of inspiration. One is someone inspires you, and one is where you inspire yourself. Okay? Now, generally, it's not possible that someone who is not you to inspire you, but you're inspiring yourself. I'll say that again. It's generally not possible that someone who's not you can inspire you, but you're inspiring yourself. But guess what? God is not like the rest of us. God is pretty cool. He can do a lot of cool things, okay? So it's... Improve it, yeah? So it says like this. The fact that God is in the field, just knowing that God is available. Okay, so God didn't come over to you, tap you on the shoulder. Just this knowledge that God is in the field awakens within us our intrinsic desire to connect to him. Or let me say it in other words. During the month of Elul, God does inspire us, but he's not inspiring us in overt ways that he may inspire us. In other words, there's sometimes God overtly inspires us, right? For example, God drains your bank account, okay? God gives you a health issue. God gives you a big miracle, right? God saves your life. God gives you a blessing in your life. There are many ways that God can overtly inspire us, and we've all experienced those moments, or unfortunately, the passing of a good friend also inspire. There are many different ways where God comes to us with like, bam, like, you know, you got to change. The month of Elul is very subtle. The month of Elul, when God is smiling, that means God has this deep love towards us, just like a parent or child that always loves their child. A parent loves their child. It's an intrinsic love. And that in turn inspires within us our natural and intrinsic love towards God. In other words, the inspiration we have during this month, the choice that we make that we want to change, is actually coming from within us. It's not a overt, bombastic, powerful moment where suddenly I feel, my gosh, my life is a lie. It's the subtle feeling that comes within us that we feel, you know what, I got to change. And that's why Jews all over this time of year get this feeling, you know, I got to change. It's because the king is in the field. God is available, he's there. And by the way, I want to show this to you. This is really cool. The Rebbe points this out, that this is actually hidden in the 13 attributes of mercy. So in the 13 attributes of mercy, in the Hebrew, okay, the first of the 13 attributes of mercy is hinted in the third word over here, kel. Okay, that is the first of the 13 attributes of mercy, for those who know the Kabbalistic 13 attributes, okay? It's one of God's names, kel, right? Like ginger kel, you know, okay. So the name kel, okay, that's God. I'm not saying exactly God's name because I don't say God's name, but kel, okay? That is the first of the 13 attributes of mercy. You know where that name of God also appears?
First two.
Oh, no, but the name kel, God's name. Where else does God's name appear? What other word does God's name appear in?
It says the number.
Very good. It says under it.
Israel.
Yisrael. Well, I could say Yisrael, right? The name Yisrael.
Israel.
The Jewish people. Look on the screen, right? God's name, the first of the 13 attributes of mercy, appears in our name. We are called the people of Israel. Israel, as most people don't know, right? The land of Israel is named after the children of Israel, who are the people of Israel. We are the people of Israel. How could the people of Israel give up the land of Israel? The whole reason it's called this is because we're the people of Israel. But anyways, that's a discussion for another time. The point is that the first name of God in the 13 attributes of mercy is actually the name of the Jew. So now we're getting a deeper idea. In other words, what does it mean that God is shining his 13 attributes of mercy? By virtue of God shining his 13 attributes of mercy, the peace of God that's within us awakens. Not as a separate entity from us, not as God coming to us and awakening us, but deep within our psyche, ourselves, who we are as a Jew gets awakened. We tell ourselves, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. And again, that's why Elul has no official mitzvot, because the inspiration of Elul is not about God showing himself from the outside. It's about a subtle inspiration coming from the inside. You know, it's kind of like with your kids sometimes. You want to get them to be inspired to do something, but you don't want it to be coming from you. That's kind of what happens in the month of Elul, is people will feel that I am a Jew and I just want to feel close to God. And the moment you allow that feeling to take over you, and I'll get to your question in a moment, the moment you allow that to take over you, you will feel God's wonderful love to you, and then you will be able to repent and return to him. So what I've added now is not only, as I said before, is the month of Elul special, because the moment we choose to return to God, we will feel God's loving embrace, and that will help us continue that path and overcome all of our insecurities and all of our issues that are holding us back from changing the rest of the year. But even more than that, there's this subtle inspiration. You might get these feelings during these months that I have to change. And it's not because anything, and you'll be like, what happened? Was there anything that happened? And there's nothing that you would have seen, because it's just a piece of you. Yes, Nina.
Yes, I'm multitasking and I may have missed something. Like, are you saying that God is even more receptive to us during this time?
Yeah, we did describe
But
that.
but why? Like, why isn't his love everlasting, constant, no questions asked? Why is there?
It's about God's love is everlasting, but there are certain spiritual energies that are more present in different times of year. Just as you want to say, well, I would love to have the powerful power breaking out of my limitations like I get on Passover, but Passover has the strongest feeling of it. It's when it's most felt. So though God's love to us is always there, it's most felt to us this time of year. Okay.
Why is it most felt? Why?
Why is it most felt this time of year? The life is always seasons. Everything is always changing, and if the simple answer is, we need renewal, and we need to be serious sometimes, and that's the holidays of Tishrei. We need to be serious, but we need to first rekindle our love, like any relationship. So this is kind of the month of renewal of that relationship with God, when we have a certain type of relationship.
Okay.
Yes.
I see for the first time this duality. In the name Yisrael, we have two fathers. God is our father, and Jacob, Israel, is our father. We are inheritors of
So
God.
So all the patriarchs are our fathers.
Yeah,
We are called Yisrael because we are all the children of Israel. Jacob is Israel, and Jacob, all of his children were Jewish, as opposed to Abraham and Isaac. Jacob, all of his children were Jewish. That's why we are called after Yisrael, and not the other ones. Yeah. Okay. So let us go to the final part. Okay. So we can now appreciate the beauty of the month of Elul and what makes it a unique time of year. First of all, during this month, we are awakened from deep within ourselves. You don't even know when it will happen. It may come subtly while you're walking down the street, while you're at home. But at some point during the month of Elul, you will feel, I want to connect to God. I want to be closer to God. I want to live as a Jew, my true self. And that awakening is not an outside push. It's the truth of your soul rising to the surface. Number two, when you feel that, don't dismiss it like maybe you do the rest of the year. Because you say, am I really going to change? Realize that the rest of the year when you decide to change, yeah, it's a lot harder. But this time of year, when you make that resolve, when you choose that you want to change, Elul is different because God is there in the field. He is here. He's not waiting behind the gates of the palace. He's right there next to you and waiting to embrace you and to love you. And that alone, that God is smiling and shining at you, that alone will make you feel God's mercy, His compassion, His love, and it will give you the strength to overcome all of the elements that disturb you. And by the way, why does love make us overcome? It also means we don't want to disappoint someone that loves us so much. Why would we want to disappoint? Why would we want to disappoint someone we love so much, right? Anybody you love so much, you don't want to disappoint them, right? And then when you live in this way in Elul, you are ready for the awesome days of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Because those days, the days of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, are the days that God's actually in the palace. Remember how we said in the parable that during the days of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, the king is in the palace, not everybody can come in? Well, the way to come in during Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and we all want to be signed and sealed for a good life, right? Well, my friends, the way that you can enter that palace for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, the way you can get in there and say your piece, the way you can ask Hashem for all those things you need in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, my friends, that is if now we take the opportunity, if we take those steps, if we take that inner inspiration and we choose to change, then by the time it comes Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and we are already part of that inner circle. And to sum up this class, I chose to write them up in a couple. Oh, I didn't put it here. Okay, 7 lines, how we can understand the month of Elul. So here's a nice way to end off the class. All right, 7 lines. All right, Elul is not about external miracles, right? It's not like Passover. It's about discovering the miracle inside your own soul. Number 2, inspiration fades, but Elul gives us the empowerment to actually change. So after the inspiration goes, if you've chosen to change, you can actually change. Number 3, when the king is in the field, even the smallest step forward is met with a smile. Next one, number 4. Elul is a time when God reminds us, you are mine and I'm waiting for you. Number 5, this month doesn't overwhelm us with awe. It whispers, you can come closer. So again, it's not an overwhelming inspiration. That's why it's not a holiday. But it does whisper to you quietly. In Elul, you don't have to climb the palace stairs. God meets you where you are. So don't feel you need to be a somebody, right? That's what I said. What's the main thing that stops Jews from doing anything? You say, I'm a bad Jew. All right, so not a problem. Number 7, the greatest power of Elul is that your decision to change is instantly embraced. And now here are the 4 questions you need to ask yourself. And this is really what I want you to walk away with today. All right, here are 4 questions that you can walk away with today. And number 1.
Pesach.
Huh?
4 questions like that.
Yeah, 4 questions like Pesach. If Elul is about awakening from within, what does that mean for the way we approach Teshuvah now compared to the rest of the year? I think what it means is...
It's easier.
But how do we approach it? How do we approach Teshuvah, the change? Realize that it's part of who you are, number 1. Right?
First of all, I don't know if people are aware, but they will feel it Monday. Every year in Elul, something in the air changes.
Something there
The
changes?
smell, the food, the light. August, you feel breeze, everybody's sweating around you. I don't know, that's what I feel.
Yeah. It changes, yeah. We will feel it. It's exactly the point. Yeah, you're gonna
They'll know why.
Number 2, what small step? Remember, we said all you need to do is a small step. What small step can you take this month that, if embraced by God's smile, could change everything for you? Think of a small step you could take upon yourself. Number 3, why do you think God chose to make Elul subtle and hidden rather than overwhelming like Mount Sinai? I think we answered that. We said it's the Ani Ladodi. God wants us to come close to Him.
Yeah, you already can.
But also, more deeply, is God always wants to make us feel like it's coming from us, right? In other words, God doesn't like to give freebies, because when you get a freebie, you don't appreciate it. So God structures the month before all the holidays That's not a freebie. You got to do something. It got to come from you. It's got to be ani ladodi. I am my beloved. Number 4, when have you felt that inner whisper, that gentle pulse saying, come closer, and what did you do with it? So, or you can think about it in general. When have you ever had in life a moment where you were inspired? Where did it go? What happened? Why didn't you change? And how is the month of Elul going to be different when you hear that whisper? So what, in other words, think of a moment in the past where you have thought of change and you didn't. What happened? Or maybe you did. What happened? Maybe you did successfully. And based on that, what are you going to do in the month of Elul? So I hope this gives you a great appreciation for the month of Elul. And now you know when you hear that little shofar blowing in the month of Elul, it's a custom. It's not a mitzvah. Customs mean it's coming from us, the Jewish people. We're ani ladodi in this month. We're getting closer to God. And know that all these little actions that we do when we get close to God, you're going to feel God's embrace. So connect with all the rituals, so to speak, of Elul. Remember, those rituals are not commandments. And they're special moments in which we can take that one little step and get closer to God and feel God's embrace. I look forward to meeting you next week. Next week, we're going to discuss the deeper meaning of Rosh Hashanah, and you will appreciate Rosh Hashanah one notch more than you have ever had before. Thank you.
Yashako.